US President is again defending his contentious phone call with Ukraine, saying the impeachment investigation is a phony witch hunt.
It's a hoax. It's a hoax. It's just a continuation of the Russian witch hunt, which turned out to be phony. The Mueller deal was phony, and now they have this. And all it is very simple. It's one conversation that I had with the president of Ukraine that was perfect.
News contributor Bruce Wolpe from the US Study Centre joins us now. What do you make of the comments, Bruce?
There are three fronts that the president is pushing back on. It's a phony witch hunt. I've been through it for 3 years. Enough is enough. Second, he got his Republican allies in the House of Representatives to really shirt front the House investigation with dozens of members going down and just saying what is going on here. And in the Senate, there's a resolution that Lindsey Graham has introduced saying the way the House is going about the investigation is terrible.
And well, that Lindsey Graham, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Senator Lindsey Graham boasted 50 of the Republican colleagues have already signed.
Yes, which is an indication that if impeachment gets to the Senate, the president has a strong base to ultimately acquit him of the charges. But so the president just feels he's under siege. He wants to push back, energize his base. And his other message politically to the country is, and he said it a few hours ago, if you take me out, the economy is going into the toilet. So think about the consequences here for the country if I am really successfully attacked. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've got so much. We're going to keep going on there.
Yes.
But let's talk about Elijah Cummings and the funeral and the tributes, that situation as well, because this is huge.
Yes, Elijah Cummings, a great member of the House, passed away last week. Elijah Cummings was chairman of the Oversight Committee. Viewers may remember him chairing the committee hearing on Michael Cohen in February. He's an African-American congressman from Baltimore, distinguished leader, respected for his dignity. He had friends, Republican friends as well. So this funeral was in Baltimore today, and President Obama, President Clinton, and Hillary Clinton all spoke and gave some eulogies.
It was a Broadway cast of political leaders in the US, and Hillary Clinton was one of those to speak. Take a look.
It is no coincidence, is it, that Elijah Cummings shared a name with an Old Testament prophet, whose name meant in Hebrew, "The Lord is my God," and who used the power and the wisdom that God gave him to uphold the moral law that all people are subject to, and because of all people are equal.
And by modern standards, dying at 68 of heart failure is gone too soon. On the Hillary Clinton front, will there be those that say you've used this funeral as a moment of opportunism?
Elijah Cummings was chairman of one of the 3 committees investigating President Clinton, so he was midway through his work. He wanted to see that work concluded, and Hillary Clinton took the occasion to say, yes, let's conclude his work and bring accountability to the White House and that the system of government, the constitutional processes work. Of course, Trump partisans will be unhappy with what she did, but those who are concerned about the president and the direction the country is going are very heartened by what she said, and it was reinforced by President Clinton and President Obama too. So it was one of those moments in Washington where things stop as you take note of a person who has fallen, and then rededicate yourself to the ideals that he stood for.
You knew him, didn't you? You worked with him.
I did. I worked with him, and I worked with his staff, and everyone. He was sort of a gentle giant, but he was, in his heart, even though he died so young, in his heart he was strong and had a clear vision for the country.
Did it come quick, the illness?
No, he had been suffering for 2 years. He went into the hospital for a procedure and then got an infection, and he never fully recovered. And towards the end, in the last couple of weeks, he let people know that he wasn't going to be able to stay long in this world.
Let's talk about the Canada election.
Canada.
How can we compare 5 weeks to 2 years?
It's much better 5 weeks.
That's it.
I think 2 things important on Canada. Trudeau was going to get taken down. The question was, how much was he going to lose? I think 2 things really saved him. One, he stayed true to his values. Now, whether you agree or disagree with someone, you respect them more if they stay true to what they believe in. And so he never walked away from climate change and reforming Canada and what he wanted to do. And secondly, and he made a lot of mistakes, and he's a younger man, and there's a lot of hubris. Hubris is bad in politics. but he showed contrition when he was called out on his, he apologized. He wore blackface, you know, at parties, and it's pretty ugly, and he should have known better.
But Andrew Scheer was a dual citizen, so he had stuff on his side as well.
He did, and he didn't ignite as much support. He never found his voice. But by showing contrition, I think people appreciate that. And so he squeaked through. So he has a real chance now to build on that and come back stronger for a third term. Or we'll see whether he's still afflicted by some demons that are inside.
It is a minority government, though.
It's a minority government, but that's not uncommon in Western democracies. Australia's had some. Britain may have some. That's right.
It's just so interesting. The
Israel
between
has
the 5 weeks being 2 years of the campaign.
It's a delicate PR component, but vulnerability as a politician can sometimes really play for you.
It can, and again, it just shows: are you honestly grappling with it? Because people want to look at you and say, "Okay, you did this stuff, but I still believe in you because of what you said." So he put together the best of both in a difficult situation. I'm going to stay true to what I believe in. I'm going to govern for what I said, and I'm going to show that I learned from my mistakes. That's always good in a politician when they can pull that off.
Yeah, and US have lifted sanctions on Turkey.
They've listed sanctions on Turkey. Trump is claiming complete victory. He is doing what he said he wanted to do. He wanted to bring the troops home, end the U.S. involvement in Syria. But the cost of it is that Russia is heavily involved. Turkey has the land it wants. The Kurds are on the defensive. Iran has a presence, and Assad, the dictator of Syria, he has more control over his territory. But Trump has achieved his objectives. He believes his base, that's what his base wants. And he hasn't suffered politically in the country. In Washington, though, Republicans remain, as we've discussed before, very concerned that this is retreat by the United States from an ally and from a strategic position in the region. So there's still a big road ahead, but for the moment, Trump is very satisfied with the outcome of this.
There's still that big question, though, isn't there, Bruce, with the 180,000 Kurdish people who have been detained. I think there's been about 10 of them gone to Iraq, and that refugee camp, there's a maximum of 12,000. So 80,000 children, 180 in total. It's just astonishing.
It's a lot of people to work with, and ISIS fighters, not complete control and security over them. So the question is, years from now, will we be haunted by what happened here? And will people who really hate the West and hate democracy and hate freedom and hate rights for women, will they come back, strike back? It is a worry.
The story has enormous tentacles, doesn't it? Even here, like when we talk about ISIS and
ISIS and the wives,
yeah,
and they
all wanting to come back. Yeah,
exactly.
Now let's turn to the Democrats, because are we down to Biden and Warren?
We could be down to Biden and Warren, but I think you have to look at Pete Buttigieg and whether he's coming through. In Iowa, he's polling number 2. The caucuses are in February, so like 3 months away. He's showing great strength on the ground. But ultimately, what we have to look for in these first 4 primaries, so you got Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, we have to look at who finishes 1, 2, 3 in each, and out of those results, that will be the pool. So you're going to have someone from the left. Is it Harris or Warren? And then someone from the center? Is it Biden or Buttigieg or Kamala Harris? And they will fight it out. So we don't know yet, but those with money and those with organization on the ground in Iowa are doing well. So Buttigieg is doing well. Biden is not doing so well in Iowa. Elizabeth Warren is doing very well in Iowa. Bernie Sanders is doing well in Iowa.
You told us to keep an eye on Buttigieg.
I keep an eye on Pete, Mayor Pete.
Could you see 2 of them teaming up to like some dynamic duo?
They could. I think everyone, though, when you run for president, you want to keep your options open as to who I should have for my vice president. So I think it would be early. It would be a surprise if that happened. It does happen sometimes. Ronald Reagan chose his vice presidential candidate at a key moment just before the nominating convention in the summer. So I'd be surprised if it happened that early, because you just don't know what the field's going to look like.
And if someone is out, where do those votes go?
Well, it's where their leader says, well, this is who I support. I'm withdrawing in favor of so-and-so. But a problem for the Democrats, a problem for the Republicans was in 2016, so many candidates, and they all refused to get out until the very end, and then they didn't unite behind someone to come up against Donald Trump. So if the Democrats retire from the field, if they remain true to themselves but don't unite behind someone else, well, maybe it is Elizabeth Warren, and maybe she is too far left to get elected. So maybe the Democratic Party shoots itself in the foot as it goes about choosing its candidate. It's all possible.
They are heady days in US politics.
And we have another 2 years to work on.
Bruce, we've got to go.
Oh, the sports update.
Sports update,
yeah. 1933.
What have you last week?
Washington Nationals have won the first 2 games. The game 3 is later.
There you go.
Any team that's won the first 2 games, 88% of winning the World Series, but Hillary Clinton's odds were 88% on Election Day in 2016.
And they haven't won since 1933.
They've never won. They were in the World Series in 33.
That's what I'm saying, like, yeah, World
They've
Series. Never won.
So there you go. The World Series without the rest of the world, just the
Bruce
United
Wolpe,
States.
is there an area that he does not commit to? Good to see you, Bruce.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Coming up.